Bridge Channel 8, keeping you informed on events in your community.
Second, 2010. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the city clerk please take roll?
Karen Adams. Here. Karen Berry. Joseph DeMott.
Here.
Joyce J.
Here.
Tracy Langworthy.
Here.
Davis Reinhardt.
Here.
Wanda Sang.
Here.
And Mike Stites.
Here.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of February 8th, 2010?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes of February 8th, 2010, seconded by Councilmember Langworthy. Discussion on the minutes. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Citizens' Right to Speak. Citizens' Right to Speak is reserved for members of the public who wish to speak on any item not on the agenda. Speakers are allowed 3 minutes. Others may donate their time to the speaker at the podium for a total of 9 minutes. When you are speaking at the podium, you'll see a green light when you start speaking, a yellow light when you have 30 seconds left, and a red light when your time is up. So if you want to speak under Citizens' Right to Speak, please step forward to the podium and state your name and spell your last name for the record and your address or your city. And I apologize for my voice in advance. So.
My name is Kyle Walpole, W-A-L-P-O-L-E, Evergreen, Colorado. Despite bringing my initial concerns to council in January, I have received no word back from any council member, the mayor, or any mayoral representative. Given additional findings, I requested that the Jeffco DA initiate an investigation into what appears to be gross misconduct, quite possibly criminal in nature, by Wheat Ridge Police Department detectives and Chief Brennan, who oversaw the events which transpired in 2005. My complaint was accepted, and a special prosecutor may pursue the case. The judge who signed the arrest and search warrant and the district attorney's office were never provided with or informed of numerous pages of exculpatory evidence, despite a Wheat Ridge detective stating, quote, "We already have those and have seen them," end quote. The detectives indicated there was no relevance to the material. This included emails, text messages, and a handwritten confession letter that you were provided with at my last time that I spoke to you at council. Per Wheat Ridge policy, which I provided a copy of to you tonight, a judge must be provided with sources of all information, as well as extra corroboration of any sources if necessary, and any exculpatory information in the pursuit of a search and arrest warrant. The judge in this matter, as well as the district attorney's office, were not provided with this evidence. This directly contradicts any assertion by your chief or representatives of the police chief that officers acted in accordance with the department's policies or state and federal laws. It was further asserted in the December 14, 2009 Internal Affairs Investigation report that detectives with your department were not aware of Ms. Wallen's mental illness. However, the very documents in your investigators' possession, in addition to the fact that Ms. Wallen had sought out a mental health care professional, are contrary to that claim and irrefutably prove that to be untrue. An emailed letter from Ms. Wallen dated March 30th, prior to the seeking of the search warrant, states, and this was in the possession of the Wheat Ridge Police Department, quote, "I saw the counselor yesterday afternoon. I felt it was productive, but we didn't have enough time as she had another client. This is something I need to fix. Also, my tolerance for things was greatly reduced due to the depression. I should have sought treatment," end quote. Sergeant Jepkema and Chief Brennan's claim, as is clearly evident, is an outright lie and yet another cover-up of the facts. The evidence also refers to Pastor Vera Giebert Stewart, who was never contacted by your department nor presented as a witness to provide evidence to the judge, despite a warrant needing to contain the identity of all parties and items involved, detailed and specific. This indicates without question that Wheat Ridge Police Department detectives were negligent or incompetent in failing to read carefully all applicable evidence or deliberately withheld the evidence from the judge and the district attorney's office prior to and after April 1, 2005. It would be prudent for the council to take this issue seriously to determine if there is a pattern of similar misconduct on the part of the Wheat Ridge Police Department, and if others have faced legal fees, job loss, and false imprisonment under similar circumstances, and if an immediate suspension of the officers involved and the chief is warranted. Thank you.
Thank you. Please spell your last name for the record and state your city and or your address.
Gene Shirley, S-H-I-R-L-E-Y. It's in Wheat Ridge since 58. And I am concerned mainly for our budget, taxing, and spending. A year ago, I talked to Lena, and she just got back from Washington, D.C. I was a little irate because I don't think that's the way to spend taxpayers' money. I don't know, I understand some people are still going to Washington, D.C., is that correct? How many of you are going to Washington, D.C.? Councilman, I'd like to ask. Raise your hand. Who's going to Washington, D.C.? Nobody? Is it off the budget? Have you taken it off of the budget? You haven't? Why can't you answer? Yes or no?
Well, if someone's going to NLC, they should raise their hands. I'm not going to NLC.
I understand. Okay. Are you going to Washington, D.C.?
Gene, why don't you stay back up behind the podium, please?
Are you going to Washington, D.C.? Are you? Are you? Okay, this is really great for government. They don't even want to talk how they want to spend their money. You're thumbing your nose at the taxpayers. And this is no way to act.
Point of order, Mr.
Ms. Berry?
We normally don't answer citizen comments during citizen right to speak. We normally do it under elected officials matters.
Well, at this point, it's just going to exacerbate the situation if Mr. Shirley doesn't know who's going to NLC. So
I would just suggest if we'd handle that under the proper, and if someone wants to.
I would like to ask a question. Can you make a motion to take this off the budget, Jerry?
council would have to make the motion to take it out of the budget.
Will somebody here please make a motion at some future date to take it off the budget? Nobody wants to do it? You're just thumbing your nose at the taxpayer. You know, you people go to Washington, D.C., spend our money, and what do you come back with? Can you tell me what you have accomplished when you went to Washington, D.C.? Lena Ritola told me she went to see Perlmutter. Well, she could see Perlmutter down on 15th Avenue. Colfax. You don't have to go to Washington, D.C., spend taxpayers' money. It's a waste of money. And you have to stand there and be dumb, not even speak up? This is ridiculous. You're thumbing your nose at the constituents and the taxpayers. And if this is the way you act, I voted for Joyce. Are you going Joyce or not?
Gene, I think what we'll do is they want to answer these questions under elected officials matters rather than under public comment, so we'll wait till then for them to make their comments.
Well, right now, you are wasting my time. You're spending taxes, you're not keeping within the budget, you got to cut. There's so many wasteful things. Walgreen, I still remember. When they built this building, they put a solar system in. It wasn't working, and it's not even up there yet. There are some projects that you people have spent money on, you should not be spending money on. I don't know what else I can say. I don't want to waste my time and your time, but I know now that this council is not acting responsibly with taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else here to speak under public comment? Please spell your last name for the record and your city and your address.
My name's Jan Hopkins, Hopkins, and I live in Arvada, Colorado. And I'm here representing Colorado Stepping Out for Kids, a nonprofit that provides new quality school clothes for children that live below the poverty level, and we provide the clothing about 2 weeks before the first day of school. This school year, 2009-2010, we provided 50 children at Martinson Elementary School, which is in Wheat Ridge, with brand new wardrobe of clothes, which includes 2 pair of jeans, a sweater, a shirt, a name brand pair of shoes, a winter coat, 6 pair of underwear, 6 pair of socks, in a plastic tote with a lid. And Wheat Ridge was very kind to our organization and provided us with some funds so that we can repeat this again this coming school year in August to provide some more Wheat Ridge kids with school clothes. And I'm here to say thank you very much. And while the gentleman before me was unhappy with the way you're spending your money, I have to say I am extremely grateful, and I know the children are as well. And just as a comment, the parents love the coats, the kids love the shoes, and the families that live in their cars love the totes because they don't have to use garbage bags to put their clothes in. So for those of you who aren't involved with needy families and having firsthand connection with people living in poverty, I have to tell you that Colorado Stepping Out for Kids does a wonderful process for our needy families. Anytime you have an opportunity to support us, I thank you for doing so. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers under public comment before we move on? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda tonight? Seeing none, the agenda will stand as published. Item 1 is the consent agenda. Councilmember Langworthy.
Thank you, Mayor. Consent agenda 1A, a motion to approve award of ITB 10-6 to 2010 crack seal project to Coatings Inc., Arvada, Colorado, in the amount of $81,051 with a 10% contingency of $8,105 for a total contract award of $89,156. Motion approving Murray, Dahl, and Kuchenmeister and Renaud LLP January 31st, 2010 invoices for attorney services in the amount of $16,401.17. Motion to approve payment to Denver Regional Council of Governments in the amount of $18,720 from account number 01-122-700-704 for 2010 contract elevator escalator inspections. And 1D, Resolution 11-2010, amending the fiscal year 2010 general fund budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation for additional contract building inspections related to damage from the July 20th, 2009 storm to Code Consultants International in the amount of $2,000. Is a motion in order? $20,000. Did I say 200? Oh, sorry, $20,000. Is a motion in order?
A motion's in order.
I move to approve 1A, B, C, and D.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda, seconded by Councilmember Stites. Discussion on the consent agenda? Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is public hearings and ordinances on second reading. The order of testimony will be city staff, the applicant, if applicable, and then the public, followed by council discussion and questions. Please keep all comments germane to the subject. Item 2 is Resolution 13-2010. I'm going to open the public hearing. Councilmember Reinhardt.
Wellspring Bible Church, located at 3010 Newland Street, is requesting approval of a daycare center that is not associated with the church to be located within the current building on the property. The daycare is proposed to have up to 60 children when it is at full capacity. The property is zoned R1, and churches are allowed through approval of special use permits pursuant to Code Section 26-114. Expansions or significant modifications to churches in this zoning district require consideration as a special use permit. A special use permit applications begin as an administrative reviewed land use application. If objections are received during the public comment period, a public hearing before City Council is required. City Council can approve with condition, or deny the application based on consideration of the evidence presented at the public hearing and with due consideration of the criteria for review. Objections to this application have been received and are attached to the council action form.
Thank you. I need to swear everybody in who's going to speak tonight. Please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth on this matter? Please say I do. Thank you. Move on to staff presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an application for a special use permit to allow a daycare center as an ancillary use to a church for up to 60 children. It is located in an R1 zone district. The property is located at 3010 Newland Street. The applicants before you this evening are Steve Gay, who's the church pastor, and Kelly Hagan, who's the proposed daycare center director. Again, the property is zoned residential 1, and churches are considered a special use within that zoning district. I do want to enter into the record this digital presentation, the staff report and council action form, the city's comprehensive plan, and Chapter 26 of the city's Code of Laws pertaining to zoning and development. I would also note that all notification and public posting requirements for the public hearing have been met, and I do have a brief presentation. This is an aerial of the property indicating that the property by color is zoned R1. You can see the outline of the property is in red. Again, the property is located at 30th Avenue and Newland. This is again looking at an aerial photography of the property. You can see the L-shaped property is the main church building, and then a little bit to the north of that is an additional building that's used as a recreational facility as well as a hall for the church. View of the property looking from the corner of 30th and Newland, again looking at the main fellowship hall and educational building. This is looking along 30th Avenue, generally to the west at the back side of the building, and the surface parking lot that they use. This is what is a vacant area currently, or a lightly used area with some landscaping right now that would be proposed to be used as part of the outdoor play area associated with the daycare. Similarly, this is on the north side of the building, and this would be a potential play area that would be associated with the daycare operation. And lastly, in terms of photos of the property, just another piece of landscaping that's at the far northeast corner of the property. This aerial photograph depicts the letters that we've received in regards to the application in response to the public notice that we've provided. The green properties are property owners that have submitted letters of opposition, and the beige or yellow properties are properties that have submitted letters of support. So you can see there's a mix of certainly opinions as to the nature of the request. So R1 zoning, which applies to this property, you have permitted or allowed uses, you have special uses. Allowed uses, generally speaking, are single-family homes. There are some home occupations that are allowed. In particular, home occupations associated with daycare would be up to 6 students would be in a permitted home occupation. Home daycare is for 7 to 12 children. would be considered a special use permit, same process that we're going through for the church expansion. Parks and governmental and quasi-governmental buildings are also permitted uses. Then there are a certain list of uses that are considered special uses that go through this administrative and/or city council hearing process. Schools, churches, public and private golf courses, just by way of example. In regards to churches, there is a note that relates to daycare in part. It indicates that ancillary uses are allowed when operating within the main structure, which this is proposed to operate within the main structure. They give examples of meetings, support groups, daycares, and choirs, etc. So daycare is listed, and there is a bit of a gray area, if you will, in the code as to how to interpret that note regarding daycare. Daycare centers are specifically not allowed as in the R1 zoning district, so it's a matter of how you interpret that note in regards to a daycare center that is operating within the church building, but is actually a business that is operating 5 days a week and beyond the scope of just the church use. The proposed daycare operations that the applicant has requested approval of would include up to 60 children, ages ranging from infant to school-age children. It would operate 5 days a week. Again, it's not affiliated specifically with the Wellspring Bible Church. They would use all the existing facilities and classrooms. It would be operated out of the main church building that's at the corner of 30th and Newland. They would have to add play areas outside. The state does regulate some minimum thresholds for outdoor play areas associated with daycare facilities, and they do have room to do that and would need to add those facilities, and they estimate that they'd have 5 to 7 staff persons. So again, the code analysis, just to elaborate again, standalone daycare centers are not allowed in residential zone districts. The proposed daycare is not associated with the church, so it is in a sense a standalone, though it is operating out of the church facility. Daycares ancillary to a church are those, in our opinion, that provide daycare services in direct support of the church functions. So when, for instance, when you're having a meeting or church service, that you'd have a daycare operation that would support parents that perhaps wanted to take advantage of that in order to do the other activities at the church. However, we have allowed the application to be processed in this case as a special use permit, even though we believe that on some level that the use of a daycare center is not permitted. We're processing it as an expansion to the church operation, which again is allowable if approved through a special use permit process. We have provided a detailed analysis of the special use permit criteria for your review within the staff report that's attached to the council action form. And we, in our analysis of those criteria, without going over each of them, have found that the criteria on balance have not been met. We are recommending respectfully denial of the application with the following findings of fact. That the applicant is requesting a child care facility that is not associated or ancillary to the church use. Number 2, that standalone daycare centers in any residential zone districts are prohibited by city code. 3, that the special use may create adverse impacts greater than allowed under existing zoning for the property. Number 4, that there could be a significant impact to adjacent property owners. Number 5, the request may negatively impact the character and residential nature of the neighborhood. Number 6, the request compromises the safety and convenience of the people in the area already using the adjacent streets. And number 7, the request will increase the intensity of the use on the property as the church is currently unused during most portions of the day. And lastly, that there were objections regarding the request that were received during the 10-day posting period. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the applicant. Do they wish to say a few words? And please spell your last name for the record and your address or city.
My name is Steve Gay, and I'm the pastor of the church. It's spelled G-A-Y. Very complicated. Mayor, council members, staff, and neighbors, ladies and gentlemen, Wellspring Bible Church is located, we all know what is being requested, a child care center. The reason for this is we wanted to be of service to the neighborhood and to the community. And the reason for us finding somebody that can run this facility, like Mrs. Kelly Hagan, was because the church does not have the staff nor the expertise to do so. However, it was our goal to provide the child care through the church's services and not be disassociated from the benefits to the community. We want to apply the service with children. It's an early childhood training facility, so it's a school, much like a school, to be run to provide high-quality education and care along with very cost-effective service at less than market prices. A child care program was operated 10 years ago here by a different church group. The previous church had a very large child care, 90 to 130 children, and also was comprised of a congregation of 150 to 200 people that was largely, or majority, homeless individuals and fed them 2 or 3 times a week. We feel that this combination had a negative effect on the area, with too many transient people walking through the neighborhood, littering, displaying inconsiderate behavior, and even vandalism. Add to this the activities of a large child care, we know it was just too much. The church itself was vandalized several times immediately after buying the church. Broken windows, attempted entry, complaints of the homeless that we weren't providing food. This stopped about 2 to 6 months after we occupied the facility. We understand that many of the neighbors experienced some of the same things. However, we want to avoid this kind of negative impact. We have the desire to provide a quality early learning program with as positive an impact on the neighborhood as possible. We will not repeat the problems associated with the previous church. We will give you more details about how we plan to do that in a moment. We have been considering this possibility for a long time, but recent studies by the Denver Post about changes coming and occurring in the neighborhood have made us decide now is the best time. The neighborhood is changing in makeup, in particular with younger couples moving in that have children. It is the same phenomena that changed the area east of Sheridan to Federal, bisected by 32nd Avenue in northwest Denver, and that phenomenon is now moving westward towards Wheat Ridge. It is a socioeconomic group that predominantly is typified by 2 working parents where nearby child care is and will be in demand. This change will likely benefit the neighborhood's property values. A well-located childhood training center would be an added attraction to those moving in and a benefit to the neighbors with children. Now I'd like to just give you a few details how we want to be a positive contributor to the welfare of Wheat Ridge community and the specific neighborhood immediately around us. First, I'd like to call up Kelly Hagan, who's the director. She's very, very well qualified, and present the benefits, both present and future, of a properly run childhood center to a neighborhood.
Thank you. Please spell your last name for the record.
Kelly Hagan, Hagan.
Thank you.
I have a handout that you guys could look at if you'd like.
Give it to the city clerk and he'll pass them down, please.
So my name is Kelly Hagan. I am the proposed director of the early childhood program at the Wellspring Bible Church. We believe that quality child care is a much-needed service for working families in the Wheat Ridge area. Many centers have closed or shut their doors in the past few years, and families have had to drive a distance out of their way, out of their neighborhood, to find alternative care. I have made early childhood education a career lifetime goal. I've worked in the industry for over 30 years. I worked for a large corporation, managed programs, was a director, a trainer. I worked in total quality management. I also am very familiar with how to go through accreditation through the national level of a child care program. Those are all our intentions if we're proposed here at Wellspring. We also believe that quality child care in your own neighborhood just makes life a little bit easier for families. We are going to be able to really make child care convenient for families, make it affordable, and we're also going to be offering a lot lower child staff ratios than some of the other programs around the area. We believe, again, Steve mentioned that a lot of young working families are moving to the Wheat Ridge area, according to the recent census information. There's a lot of low-income families in Jefferson County that will be denied child care assistance dollars due to cutbacks in the near future. We believe that we can offer some scholarships to some of those families and help reduce some of the costs that they will have for child care. There's a 2008 children's campaign study that just came out that shows that early childhood experiences create a foundation for lifelong learning. High-quality early care and education programs will ensure that even the most at-risk children arrive to school eager to learn and ready to be successful at school. According to Pre-K Now, which is a public education and advocacy company, they show that for every dollar that's invested in high-quality kindergarten, preschool education, it saves taxpayers up to $7. Early childhood education also helps increase high school graduation rates. It helps children do better on a standardized test. It lowers grade repetition. It decreases the number of children that are placed in special ed. It decreases crime and delinquency later on in life. It decreases teen pregnancy rates. It leads to increase in employment and higher wages in adults. And we believe that it also contributes to more stable families. We also have copies of letters of some of the families in the neighborhood of support, so we'd like to share those with you too.
There are 10 letters, and I believe that the one that you had on the that the gentleman had on the screen of the lighter green, that's in there as well, so it's 9 additional ones to that. I'm just going to close by addressing directly some of the concerns expressed in the letters, most importantly traffic. We decided not to have a large child care center as the previous church had. Remember, they had over 100 kids. Theirs was double or more than the request that we're trying to get, which is 60. We decided to limit the facility use, which can hold legally 150 children by the state definitions, not the city, for the specific reason of limiting impact on our immediate neighbors. We chose the number 60 in order to offer enough age coverage to properly service the family needs, as well as to maximize the use of teachers, staff, and keep a high-quality economical program that Kelly was referring to. Less than this would not nearly be as efficient. Second, we have 60 to 70 parking spots just on our lower parking area alone, including the grassy area, which is in that picture up there, up to the upper right. That is 2 to 3 times the required and designated off-street parking at most child cares, existing daycare centers. They usually only have 20 to 30 spots. One of the complaints was that there was idling cars waiting to get into the parking lot. I don't know how that occurred. But third, because of our low numbers, we anticipate eventually having a waiting list to get in. This is fairly common with high-quality centers in the Denver area. Because of this, we can recommend and expect compliance with our requirements and suggestions on comportment while in our neighborhood by our parents. We will notify our parents that there will be no honking of horns, idling of engines, street parking, or blocking any of neighbors' driveways. Fourth, we will give directions for the arrival and departure for the 4 quadrants, meaning from the northwest, southwest, northeast, and southeast. We'll give them 4 different separate ways to come into the property, and so that would mean that 25% of the overall traffic, which would be roughly 60 cars, less 10%, because there'll be some parents that will have 2 children, and the estimate we can best estimate is 10%. That may be a little bit low. So there'd be approximately about 54 cars on a given day coming to the child care. Also, we will split that up in 4 different ways. Because of where our property is, some can come south on Newland and go into a parking spot on the east side of the building, not getting anywhere near the 4 homes in particular that had some complaints, so they won't even have anything from that sector coming near their house. Then from the southeast, we would come on to 30th and go into the eastern portion of the lot, which is near but not across the front of one of the houses that was concerned about this. Of course, the other houses further up, it wouldn't impact going in front of their houses at all. And 2 of the quadrants would come in on that, or possibly come in on that 30th same way. So 50% of the car visits would not impact very much on those particular homes. The other 25% coming from the north would come down Newland and park in the east side, and then we're exploring the possibility of even avoiding anything coming north on Newland and perhaps coming in on a different street near the small church, which is immediately to our east on Newland. So we're trying to think of ways to have less impact. People going to Child Care Center are already doing general traffic throughout Wheat Ridge that have their kids. You just don't notice them at this point in time. Fifth, repeated violations of these routes or restrictions will be met with strong consequences. We want to have a disciplined school, and we feel we're going to be offering something that's well worthwhile for the parents, so they're going to be motivated to adhere to those suggestions. We feel that the other issues mentioned in the letter, such as litter, idling of cars, blocking driveways, vandalism, in addition to the main concern of traffic, has been addressed adequately. The gentleman who presented for the city, the staff member, mentioned that there's allowed 12, but my understanding was that you can have a small or a large residential daycare in which the traffic would be somewhere around 16, which is 25% of our traffic. So the direction of flow and traffic would not be any more than the large 24 number child residential allowed by special use permit in a residence. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. We'll move on to public comment. There will not be a time limit tonight on individual speakers during public comment on this agenda item, but I do ask that you keep your comments germane to the subject. In an effort to move the meeting along, since decisions need to be made, you may state that you agree or disagree with the previous speaker. This is a city council business meeting, so please, no cheering, booing, clapping, or impugning of motives. Please treat all speakers as you would like to be treated. So please step forward behind the podium. There's no order. Just please step forward if you'd like to speak on this agenda item and spell your last name for the record. And give us your name and your address or your city. Sorry.
Jane Jones, Jones, 6417 West 29th. Off of the picture here, Michael and I have the vacant property. It's a half acre right on 30th, so it's just this direction back east, and then live at the house on the hill, which is a half acre to the north, and we just purchased last summer. And we purchased it because we love the quiet. So I would be opposed to this project because, you know, 60 children coming in, that's 120. That's coming in and out and then picking up later in and out. A lot of them coming down on 30th, which directly impacts where we would hope to maybe develop. Right now it's vacant land, but, you know, certainly noise. I would be opposed to that because of the noise from that number of children, and I don't think there's any relationship to the noise of this size of a facility to what would be if someone had it in their home. So that the traffic is a problem and the noise would be a problem, so I would be opposed to it.
Thank you. Thank you. Please step forward for public comment.
Michael Corey, C-O-R-Y. I agree with everything James said. I thought Mr. Johnstone's presentation covered many pertinent, cogent facts about the situation. It's a very quiet neighborhood there. 60 students plus staff could mean 280 trips a day. The neighborhood isn't suitable for that kind of traffic density. There are no curbs, no gutters, no sidewalks. And another observation I would make, which I'm not sure you'd consider pertinent, is that this is a church that wants to sponsor a commercial enterprise. It's a church that wants a profit-making organization operating in a tax-free environment, which to me is objectionable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Erica Harvey, Harvey, 3002 Lamar Street, and I agree with my two neighbors on exactly the traffic impact and, you know, everything else along with that. vandalism, non-compliance. I mean, I agree with education, very important, but in our area, it's just not suitable for the area we live in. It's just not made for that. The parking and traffic is, I think, a big, big issue in that area. And like I said, I agree with the neighbors, and I oppose it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other speakers under public comment? Please spell your last name for the record and your address or city. I would ask, too, that make your comments to the city council since they have to make the decision.
My name is Kevin Bryan, B-R-Y-A-N. I live at 3045 Lamar Street. My house butts up against the east side of the lot that you see up here. Unfortunately, I don't know the correct protocol, but I did have some concerns. One of which is the group that was there before caused some property damage, and the church that ran in that property before never took care of it. We had kids crawling over our fence. We have a dog in our backyard, so I have questions about liability. I know that you speak to the kids being up to school age, but if there's a will or there's a way, and they can do some crawling. So that is my concern. There is a building on the southeast corner that I've seen kids from your church, Reverend Gay, crawl up on, and if the bigger kids can do it, the little kids will find a way. So that is my concern. The traffic, as everyone else that spoke before me, I do have a concern, especially just when we do have young couples. I was there myself and my wife. We have 2 daughters, and when we're dropping our kids off, sometimes we forget that we're in a residential area and that there are other kids, and we have to remind ourselves that every day. And what I've seen is that on Sunday mornings at 10:30, there's cars that go by our house at 45 miles an hour, and there's a T. And that's one of my concerns, is that we're getting ready to go to our church, and my daughters are getting in their car, we've got people speeding. I understand that's on Sunday, but I also believe that in the morning times we're going to probably have the same issues. So I'm opposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Nat Hagerman. My address is 6455 West 31st Avenue. So I'm not personally.
Oh, please spell your last name.
Excuse me. Hagerman.
Thank you.
Thanks. And I'm not for or against at this point, but I just had a suggestion or a concern that I'd like to put out for the safety of children if this does go through. The property in question is 6480 West 31st Avenue. Prior resident, for all practical purposes, was running an auto repair shop. And that I don't think was on the approved city ordinance. And I just have a concern that there may have been some dumping of perhaps toxic chemicals, waste products associated with automotive repair. There's also been a fire there, so perhaps other just toxic, harmful products or elements. And that property actually does butt up against where one of the suggested areas of playground could be. So we may want to, I don't know who would bear the burden of this, but just for, if this does go through, for public safety, for safety of the kids, have somebody who's versed in hazmat and risk assessment just take a look at it, see if there's anything. Could be nothing, but just wanted to make sure that it's out there on the table. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public before we move on to council questions? Mr. Dahl, did you want to, or Mr. Johnstone, address the liability issue that was asked? In any insight on that?
Well, it's all private property.
Right.
And the city's action in approving or disapproving a land use doesn't subject the city to any liability. If there are liability concerns existing on the use of the property as presently allowed or as might in the future be allowed, those liabilities are the responsibility of the property owners, and the people taking the actions are being injured. The city's action on this application doesn't increase or decrease any city liability.
Thanks. Any other comments from the public before we move on? Seeing none, we'll go to council questions and comments. Mr. Reinhardt?
This is for Mr. Johnston. As I understand the basic criteria for approval here, we have accepted that it could be a use by special right, and that the criteria is that it has to meet the majority of the conditions that are outlined. There are 8, of which 7 apply.
That's correct.
And so you have, the fact of the matter is, if by strict process standpoint, if you were to find one of those, or if somebody was to disagree with you on any one of the 4 that you found objectionable, they would have cause to support the application?
Correct.
So that being the case, I'm going to ask what it is, why you believe that the special use, I'm going to get my positives and negatives right, why there is undue traffic congestion or traffic hazards, and what evidence you came to that conclusion by, or specific internal conflicts, and what aspect of it you found to be in violation of your criteria number 4?
We did not request or require the applicant to provide a traffic analysis. I think what so this is very much a qualitative answer to your question, but we are thinking that the intent of not allowing large daycare centers in R1 zone districts recognizes that the daily impact of traffic, as opposed to a church use often having maybe one day with significant traffic volume but lesser volumes on a daily basis. That's the distinction that I think we were making, is that peak hour everyday traffic volume for 60 students would be impactful to the community, to the neighborhood.
And then on item number 5, and then I think I'm done. What do you perceive that there are setbacks, heights, park bulk, buffering, screening that could be put in this? Because you've concluded that setbacks, heights, parking, bulb lane, or some aspect of that is unacceptable to you. Is there some mitigating circumstances that would resolve that issue in your mind?
I haven't looked at specific mitigating issues. I think we're looking at the proximity of the buildings that would be used, and the play areas that would be used to the property lines is fairly significant. So if there were to be, they're right on the property lines, as has been noted. I don't know if there's landscaping or fencing that might be appropriate. That those are possible solutions.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Berry?
Yes. Well, I really agree that we do need more daycare facilities in the city and in that area, and that's a great benefit to the community. It is important that we look at the impacts of what that facility is in regards to how it compares to a residential use, because really the property is zoned residential. The original intent of putting a church in a residential zone is that it used to be in the day, many years ago, that churches were more smaller in scale, and they had just services on Friday or a Bible school, so that there were very limited impacts and they were very comparable to residential uses. Nowadays, that churches are filling the needs of the community, and we have much larger churches, and we have churches that are doing a lot more activities that are really needed in the community. But are they comparable to residential uses? And so in some ways, churches now are almost like commercial kind of operations with schools and daycare facilities and many other kind of activities, again, which are really great additions to the community, but it is important to see that we place them correctly. When I look at this property zoned R1, it seems to me that if we were going to have a residential use, it would be probably about a maximum of 5 lots. Is that, I remember it's about quarter acre, so it'd be maybe at the maximum of 5 residential homes, single-family homes on that property. And if we were going to compare those traffic impacts, that would be 50 trips a day, would it not, Mr. Johnstone?
I'm not sure what the trip generation rate is for a typical single-family home, so I can't say for certain.
I think it's 10 trips per day.
Yeah.
So if we were looking at this as being probably 120 trips a day, it would probably be at least double what we would get under a comparable residential use. So in that regard, I think that the property is large enough with parking. I don't see parking as being much of an impact, but I do see and believe that staff's interpretation of the traffic being greater than what is a comparable residential use it is correct. And in that instance, I think that this really kind of crosses that line between being a comparable residential use for the size of the property. And in that regard, I think I would have a difficulty supporting it, especially since it is zoned residential, and we are supposed to look at a special use as the comparable impacts of what you're proposing to what a residential use is.
Mr. Dumont. I lived in that area for a while, right on Newland Street. Is that, I haven't lived there for 5 years, but that entire parking lot was recycled road base. It wasn't paved. Has that been changed? Okay, even on the Newland side street, it's still gravel?
Please go ahead and use the mic to answer the questions. I apologize, so it goes into the record.
The lower, when I say lower because there's a grade on 30th, the lower portion of the lot is asphalt. The back, I call it the back 40, is grass, and then it's gravel all the way around the rest of 30th and up Newland. There is some concrete, but it's very minor. It's a sidewalk, basically.
Okay. So that up along the street, 30th Avenue and Newland, it would be, well, it would be hard to paint lines on there, directional lines going in here or going out here.
Well, we do have, the curves are all painted. Do you need to designate car spaces?
Well, designate directions coming in and out for the parents as they come in and out.
Yeah, well, we can, there's gates and chains across certain parts. So what we would do, we would avoid, first of all, we'd give the parents, as I suggested, ways to come in. And the way to come in, the main entrance to come in would be the one on the far east of that lower parking lot. And then the egress would be through that same area. And we can put signs, we can make it so that they can follow it, but they'll have specific instructions, each parent, depending on where they come from.
So down on the lower part, I don't have a way to point to this, but where it looks like there were some parking spots marked against your Quonset hut type building, that is asphalt right there. That is paved?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, there's a sidewalk there. It's not. That's just a walking sidewalk.
Okay.
It is concrete.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? Ms. J.
As much as I support adding facilities for young families and for children, and I know we all at the council would like to see more of that. I am concerned about the impact because the 60 cars or less than 60 would be arriving in a 3-hour period. So you have a 3-hour period at one end and a 3-hour period at the other end, and I think that's very impactful to a residential neighborhood that really moved there without that thought in mind. Of course, a church is there. They expect that traffic, but I think this is maybe pushing the limits of their tolerance.
Mr. Stites?
Yeah, just that quick
question, maybe I didn't get it, but how did you arrive at 60 students?
Originally, we thought that the limit was going to be 24, and then we looked at the efficiencies of staff and the building. We were only going to use the lower level. I think Ken said that we were going to use all the building. That's not entirely true. We're just using the lower level. So all the entry will be on the lower side. And down below, to make efficiencies, because of the state requirements for babies, it's a much higher teacher to child than, say, older groups. So in order to accommodate the efficiencies of using a good staff to 5 to 7 people, the number really is indicated 6 to 60. So originally we were prepared for 24. So if the city council feels that if the traffic was reduced in some way and could approve some number, we would then look at that and see if we can adjust downward. But that's where the number 60 came from efficiencies from state requirements.
Okay, but if need be, then you are willing to slide that number down?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions before I close the public hearing? I'm going to close the public hearing and a motion's in order.
Do we have any discussion?
Well, on the motion we will. If you want to take a 5 or 10 minute break to get a substitute motion or a different idea, we can do that.
I'm willing to take a stab at it.
Okay.
I move to approve case number SUP 0903, approving a special unit to allow a daycare for up to 30 children as an ancillary use to the church and residential R1 zone district for the following reasons. The use meets the majority of the special use criteria if one considers the reduced traffic from a 30 use from a 30 student facility instead of a 60 use facility, and then meets it therefore meets 4 of the 7 criteria as necessary for a special use permit.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Do we have a motion to approve this agenda item with a student count of 30 students? Discussion on the main motion. Second by Councilmember Berry. Discussion on the main motion.
At 30 students, that would be equivalent to 60 trips a day. If we had an allowable residential use, it looks like that would be 40 to 50 trips per day. So for me, that would resolve my issue of comparable traffic.
Mr. Stites.
As the parent of 2 older children now, I know what kind of a pain daycare is, and there's a tremendous need for it. But also at the same time, we have to be extremely, I think, respectful of our residential neighborhoods. Commercially, I have no problem with a lot of this stuff, but not in a residential neighborhood. You know, I think sometimes they push their luck just having church on Saturday night or Sunday or whatever in some of them. So, and the problem with it is, too, is we do not allow standalone daycare in R1 districts. And I'm not inclined to vote to change that tonight at all. So I will be voting against the motion.
Ms. Zhang?
I will not be supporting this motion. I agree with Mike. It is a standalone facility, not really associated with the church, and we don't allow that.
Ms. Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think there's no question that I would certainly value any early childhood education. That would not be in question at all, the need for that. I think our job here is to stick with managing community and the needs of the community as far as sticking with the criteria of what we allow. Once we start making exceptions like this in neighborhoods, it sets us up, I believe, for situations like Mike said, where we are having a commercial establishment in a residential neighborhood. I guess my question before we go on with discussion is, will this be for profit? And if so, will 30 students allow you? I mean, maybe we're talking about an issue that isn't an issue if the applicant doesn't feel 30 will be able to make this deal go. So we need to maybe ask that, Jerry?
Please step forward.
Thank you.
The goal of the church is not to make the money from this, but rather be a service to the community. So the 30 would allow us, and I'd have to kind of defer to Kelly, to be able to pay the staff properly and well enough so you get the best staff possible, but would not have, if any, profit, but very little profit, which then would go into the building, because one of the agreements with them, we have to do quite a bit to the building inside to be able to maintain it and keep it, from security systems to whatnot. So the reality of making money is probably slim or none at 30, but we're still willing, and again, I defer to Kelly because we'd have to review it, but we believe we probably could do it, but not to make money. It would be still a service to the community.
Madam?
I guess that's my concern in that have we, exactly what you're saying is, have we tied your hands to make the facility what it needs to be in what to be effective and be not necessarily a moneymaker, but to be an establishment that can have the quality that needs to be for the kids, whether it be looking at mitigation for some kind of outdoor, looking at the ground and what you need. Are you going to be able to do this? I'm wondering
what would really happen with that 30 as opposed to the 60 is that the older groups would probably not be serviced, and we'd drop down to a younger group, truly probably more focused on preschool.
Okay.
So what would happen then is some families may not be able to go there, but the quality would stay the same. Yes.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It's difficult. Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay, the motion in front of you is to approve item number 2 with a student count of 30 because it meets 4 of the 7 criteria, and that's the motion we have right now on the floor, Mr. Snow. Mr. Reinhardt, eventually you may have to write that down to give to the clerk. Any more discussion on the main motion for approval of 30 with because it meets 4 of the 7 criteria? Please poll the council on the motion.
Motion fails 5-3 with council members Gary, Adams, and Reinhardt voting yes.
Okay, we need another motion.
I'll make it.
Councilmember Sang?
Let me find it.
You want to make the
I move to adopt resolution number 13-2010, case number SUP-0903, a resolution denying a special use permit application requesting approval of a daycare center for up to 60 children for the following reasons. The applicant is requesting a child care facility that is not associated or ancillary to the church use. Standalone daycare centers in any residential zone district are prohibited by city code. 3, the special use may create adverse impacts greater than allowed under existing zoning for the property. 4, there could be a significant impact to adjacent property owners. 5, the request may negatively impact the character and residential nature of the neighborhood. 6, the request compromises the safety and convenience of the people in the area already using adjacent streets due to increase of vehicle trips per day on local streets. 7, the request will increase the intensity of the use of the property as the church currently is unused during the day. 8, there were objections regarding the request during the 10-day posting period.
Second.
We have a motion for denial, second by Councilmember Stites. Discussion on the denial. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 5-3 with council members Berry, Adams, and Reinhardt voting no.
Okay, thank you for coming. Move on to item number 3, which is ordinances on first reading. Council Bill 03-2010. Councilmember Jay.
Council Bill Number 03-2010, an ordinance extending the moratorium enacted by Section 2 of Ordinance 1453, Series 2009, on the submission, acceptance, processing, and approval of any application for a City of Wheat Ridge permit or license related to the operation of a business or cooperative that sells or accumulates or cultivates medical marijuana pursuant to the authority granted by Article XV 111, Section 14 of the Colorado Constitution.
Motion's in order.
Just a second here. I move to adopt Council Bill Number 03-2010 on first reading, order it published, public hearing set for Monday, March 8, 2010 at 7 p.m. in City Council chambers, and that it will take effect upon adoption.
Second.
We have a motion for approval, seconded by Councilmember Sang. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 7-1 with Councilmember DeMott voting no.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is decisions, resolutions, and motions. Item 4 is Resolution 12-2010. Councilmember Stites.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce Resolution Number 12, 2010, a resolution distributing a portion of the city's jurisdictional allocation of federal housing and urban development community development block grant funds to the Senior Resource Center circulator bus service and allocating the remainder of the city's jurisdictional allocation and recaptured Jefferson County Economic Development Funds to the Wheat Ridge Urban Renewal Authority for the redevelopment in the southeast corner of 44th Avenue and Wadsworth. And I'd like to have the clerk read that into the record.
Need a motion? Go ahead and make a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve Resolution Number 12, 2010, authorizing the expenditures of $30,000 of the city's 2007 jurisdictional allocation of the CDBG funds to the Senior Resource Center in support of their circulator bus service. In addition, accepting and authorizing the utilization of the city's 2008 jurisdictional allocation, 2008 recaptured county economic development funds, and the 2009 and 2010 CBDBG fund allocations for the use by the Wheat Ridge Urban Renewal Authority for redevelopment of the site location at the southeast corner of 44th Avenue and Wadsworth Boulevard.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion for approval, second by Councilmember Sang, and Mr. Stites asked the clerk read a letter into the record.
This letter is dated February 19th, 2010, and it is a memo from the Seniors Resource Center. This is an update on the funding request. Senior Circulator Ride Program. The city has been a valuable partner with Senior Resource Center since its beginning in 1978, and especially after we moved into our current headquarters on 3227 Chase Street in 1982. Our Wheat Ridge facility serves as the center of operations for all of our organizational services we provide in Wheat Ridge and the rest of the Denver metro area. Last year in total, we served more than 18,000 individuals and caregivers with services designed to keep individuals in the community for as long as possible. We know the city values the large population of 60-plus individuals who call Wheat Ridge home because of your generous support for our mission. The request is to provide funding for our Wheat Ridge Senior Circulator Ride Program for the 2010-2011 cycle. In the fall of 2007, Mayor DiTullio responded to citizens' concerns and began talks with Senior Resource Center to increase transportation services for Wheat Ridge seniors. The city approved the first contract in June 2008 in the amount of $20,000 to support Senior Resource Center transportation services for Wheat Ridge residents. The first year, funding was broken down as follows: $16,000 for partial support of the Wheat Ridge Senior Circulator, and $4,000 was used to help support general rides for Wheat Ridge residents. In 2008 and 2009, we provided a total of 4,942 rides to 260 Wheat Ridge residents. The circulator service actually began service June 30th, 2008, and runs on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. It makes stops at different senior communities and takes seniors to the Applewood Plaza or other shops that are requested, such as Safeway, Super Target, and the Farmers Market. Last year, through the second year of this program, the Senior Circulator expanded its hours of operation from 6 hours per week to 9 hours per week, and now goes off route to pick up seniors who are near the route. The circulator continues to operate on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and has been very flexible to venture to different locations in Wheat Ridge based on passenger input. In 2009, this program provided 2,606 rides to 68 individuals for the circulator program. There were an additional 5,760 rides to 193 individuals by our Senior Resource Center transportation services, mainly for medical-related trips. The total for both these programs were 8,366 rides for 266 Wheat Ridge individuals. Based on our per-ride cost of $21, the total cost of these rides was actually $175,686. The city provided partial support for the circulator program and some general transportation support programs through your CDBG funds in the amount of $28,600. Our proposal for 2010-2011 is to continue the current Wheat Ridge Senior Circulator and for additional general Senior Resource Centered transportation rides at a slight increase for a total of $30,000. It would be even better of the city to provide stronger support to cover the ever-increasing costs of vehicle maintenance, fuel, and insurance cost. Senior Resource Center would greatly benefit from an increase to $35,000. Thank you for your consideration of this special request to support the transportation services to our Wheat Ridge seniors and for being such a great partner to Seniors Resource Center.
Thank you, and I wanted to acknowledge Councilmember Langworthy was part of that original discussion, too, in that letter. So it's my understanding, Mr. Timms, you wanted to say a few words about the Senior Resource Center funding?
So my name is Bob Timm, Timm, and I work at Seniors Resource Center, our headquarters there. So we're very happy to be part of the community here. We've moved into, we're a 31-year organization, but we moved into Wheat Ridge in 1982. So we provide transportation through a fleet of 28 vehicles. A little less than half of them are stationed at our Wheat Ridge office here. A couple years ago, we started this program. It's been very successful. Transportation is one of the biggest requests for services that we get at Seniors Resource Center, because that's probably the first, when you lose your ability to go out to the store or to go to a doctor's appointment, that is your first step at loss of independence. And so this is a great program for that. So like I said, like was written in the letter, we provided 2,600 rides to this program, plus the other 5,700 rides that we did through our normal transportation program for Wheat Ridge residents, 8,300 rides in that community. So I do want to thank you all for the past support and invite you to come down to Seniors Resource Center and take a tour of our facility, see this great service that we offer. One of the other things that we do kind of offer with a ride is the access to the rest of our programs. We have what we call a coordinated service down there. So we get a lot of other funding for emergency assistance. We have a job training program. And once you know who we are and can call us up, you can get access to the rest of these programs. So those are going very well also. Did you want to do a real brief update on our capital campaign? We're trying to build a building over at our new facility there. We've now raised $5.2 million. We're in the final stages of getting a $2 million loan. So that means we're less than $400,000 away from finishing up building this 17,000 square foot facility over there. So we're hoping by this summer
that we'll have this all in place and ready to go for groundbreaking.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Does the council have any questions or comments about item number 4? Ms. Adams?
When you say, I have a question for you.
Yes.
You said above and beyond our normal transportation. I don't understand your normal versus our assisted.
Well, this program is kind of like a fixed route, bus route that runs 9 hours a week. So we're picking up at the different seniors centers and community centers around here and then taking them down to King Soopers and Walmart in there. So those are those are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for a total of 9 hours. In addition to that, we have a transportation that you can call in and get rides outside of this program. So if you have a doctor's appointment or something like that, we have the ability to take you any place in the Denver metro area outside of that route that I just spoke on there. So the reason this is good synergy for the nonprofit organization is this provides us a funding base for the rest of our programs that we do. And also, this funding that we currently have is running out here, as you know, in the next few months. So it would be really advantageous for us to find out an answer so that we can know how to plan for this next year.
I guess my question would be, the community development block grant money has parameters around it. Maybe we should go over those parameters if we want certain things we can use that dollars for.
There's a few different national objectives that are established in the regulations. Elimination of slum and blight is one of those. A second one is benefit to low and moderate income areas, and that can be through the provision of actual low and moderate income housing, or it can be something like this, which benefits low and moderate income census tracts. So this is an eligible activity. The third general area of eligible activities is emergency need. So if you had a natural disaster, you'd be eligible to use your CDBG funds to addressing that situation. So those are the general national objectives, and certainly this is consistent with that.
And the monies go through the county, and then the county allocates it to the city, is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we participate with the county. The county administers the funds, and it has been their practice to give us basically a pro rata share based on our population in the city, which is in low and moderate income census tracts. We have a little more than 100,000 left in our 2007 allocation, and then we have all of our 2008 and 2009, and we'll soon to be receiving our 2010.
And as I'm understanding when I read this, in the future, the CDBG money maybe will not, possibly the county will not let us back 3 years on it. We'll only back 1 year. Is that my
That's my understanding. We haven't gotten that officially established with the county, but we recently became aware just in the past several months in communications with the county that they are needing to spend the money more quickly to be in compliance with the federal rules, and that'll mean that we need to help them spend the money more quickly.
This CDBG dollars could be used towards the 44th Wadsworth project, also along with the money we're allocating under this particular motion that someone read the other day, right?
Yes, those are eligible activities.
My fear here, I think it's a super program that we started. I'm trying to look for the Citizens Budget Oversight Committee and the number of people that we're serving, if it would serve us well to take this money and look at, I'm fearful when I see that we have people come in that are looking carefully at our budget, that has this council as a whole looked at the number of people being serviced with the $30,000 of money from CDBG? I wonder if we would want to look at that harder. That would be my comment.
Any other comments from council? Ms. Langworthy?
I guess I do support the additional funding for this program, not just because I was part of the original input to start this, but we have seniors. I mean, it's hard enough as it is to be a senior in a community, especially when you've lost that ability to be mobile, and it does affect their overall quality of life. I like the fact that this is just kind of a doorway into the other parts of the Senior Resource Center that is available to our seniors. And maybe, I guess it does seem that it's a bit of a cost, but the overall benefit from it is that we have a more active senior community. And to me, that's what I gain from having this program, is that we have seniors who are now getting out of their house. They're probably feeling a little bit better about themselves because they're not stuck in their house. And they're also having access to other programs that help them feel that way. So I do support this program.
Mr. Stites?
Yeah, with Tracy, I think it's a very worthwhile program, especially for the seniors. I watch it every day at the shop. I get the call, and God, Mike, they took away my car. And in some cases, that's a good thing. But for the most part, it's a whole new part of their life that they have to adjust to, not having a car. And then with the economy the way that it is, I've seen seniors have to give up their car because they can no longer afford the license plates because they've gone up. They can no longer afford the insurance. They've gone up, and the gas and the maintenance and everything else. So this provides a well-worth program for the citizens of Wheat Ridge, and I'll be supporting it.
Ms. Jay?
Thank you, Councilmember Adams, for questioning that. As a member of the Budget Oversight Committee, it was a concern of mine because I know we will be looking at all programs that the city is providing and looking at them closely, and this is obviously a program. I'm glad we had an opportunity to read this memo because we didn't have this previously, and it helped me understand how valuable it is, not only as a plus for the seniors, but my budget oversight mind is saying it also delivers them to the shopping centers. So that's in our benefit, and I think it's very valuable program, and I will be supporting it.
Any other comments before I move on to Ms. Adams again? Ms. Adams?
Thank you. I guess I don't have it in front of me, but we have, trying to be respectful to the speaker who came in about watching the budget so carefully, we have a $10,000 outreach, which is, I think, smart, as well as I believe this is a very smart way to spend our money. I'm just trying to make sure we look hard at all of our expenditures. The $10,000 outreach, I guess I cannot remember, and we did pass it. Mr. Goff, did some of that money go to the Senior Resource Center? You might remember, Mr. Mayor, that $10,000 outreach.
I don't believe it did.
Okay, I know it had in the past.
Not for this program.
No, not for this program, but we did support, I'm asking you if we supported them with the $10,000 outreach or with the mayor's $3,000 outreach. Did we already support this organization, is my question is, and no one knows that answer. And they're discussing it.
Heather Geyer works on the
outreach,
the contributions to outside agencies, and she does feel that they did submit an application, and so they received a portion of the $10,000, not the
so
full
we did
10,000.
already give them a portion for their organization. I just want to point that out.
He wanted to answer the question too, since he's from the Senior Resource Center. Mr. Timms?
We did get $1,000 grant. You're talking about the grant program for the nonprofits. We got $1,000 to buy some equipment for our Adult Day Center.
I don't think that's the same, is it? That's not the same as our 10,000 outreach. Was that our 10,000?
Yes. Yeah, it came from the 10,000.
Was it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. And I just wanted to point that out in that these are the types of things that we look at when we reach into the community to see the organizations that we try to support. When I'm looking at the CDBG dollars, I'm just wondering if we should have split it out and looked again harder with the new council. But with respect to the time frame, which the mayor made us aware of that the Senior Resource Center is under, for needing to know about this, but I want to be vigilant at the same time with making decisions on our dollars expenditures and making the community aware that we don't take them lightly. We have our own vehicle maintenance issues here in the city. I know CDBG can't be used for that, so I'm respectful that it can be for helping the Senior Resource Center out so they can do that. I wondered also with your if the dollars would be better spent for your development of your new property. I just didn't know. I don't want to delay it, Mr. Mayor, to go to a study session because I understand the urgency, and I know that you've made that very clear, that there's an urgency to spend this $30,000 without us having further discussion. But I wonder if those types of discussions would be prudent for our community. I will be supporting this.
Any other comments before I poll the council? Please poll the council on the main motion.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. Item 5 is motion to approve appointments to various boards and commissions. District 4, Councilmember Langworthy.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I actually have a small question on this one, Mike. I have 3 spots on my council packet, but on there's 4. You have 1 for Animal Control, Liquor Authority, Housing Authority, and Building Code. Am I supposed to be appointing all 4 or just the 3 that are here? Would you show them?
Oh, Housing Authority is for the mayor's appointment.
Oh, is that one? Okay, good. Thank you.
That's coming up.
That's fine. Just want to make sure I'm not missing something.
District 4, but it's a mayor appointment.
That's okay. I just want to make sure I don't miss something. Thank you. Okay. I move to appoint Robert Hance to the Animal Welfare and Control Commission, term ending 3/2/2013. Anthony Davia to the Liquor Authority, term ending 3/2/2013. And Larry Brewer to the Building Code Advisory Board, term ending 3/2/2011.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please poll the council on the District 4 appointments.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. Council Member Jay, District 2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to appoint Ryan Fisher, that's a reappointment, to the Board of Adjustment, term ending 3/2/13. Another reappointment, Philip Plummer, to the Building Code Advisory Board, term ending 3/2/13. Dean Goki to the Planning Commission, term ending 3/2/13. A reappointment of Frank Sanzalone to the Liquor Licensing Authority, term ending 3/2/13. Chad Haar to the Cultural Commission, term ending 3/2/12. And Millie Nadler to the Cultural Commission, term ending 3/2/11.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion for District 2.
Matthews to the Planning Commission, term ending 3/2/13. George Pond to the Planning Commission, term ending 3/2/12. John Mix to the Liquor Licensing Authority, term ending 3/2/13. And Loretta DiTirio to the Cultural Commission, term ending 3/2/11.
Second.
We have a motion for District 3. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Councilmember Berry, District 1.
I move to make the following appointments, all terms ending March 2nd, 2013. Joelle Heaton to the Animal Welfare and Control Commission, Betty Jo Page to the Board of Adjustment, Jesse Hill to the Building Code Advisory Board, Joseph Jessic to the Parks and Recreation Commission, Alan Bucknam to the Planning Commission, Robert Aldridge to the Liquor Licensing Authority.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion for District 1. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. Item 6 is the Wheat Ridge Foundation. Councilmember Demott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A motion to approve the ratification of the mayoral appointments to the Wheat Ridge Foundation. Mayor DiTullio recommends that Curtis Gilmore, Tom Ripp, and David Peterson be reappointed to the Wheat Ridge Foundation. I move to ratify the mayoral reappointments of Curtis Gilmore, Tom Ripp, and David Peterson to the Wheat Ridge Foundation, terms to expire March 2nd, 2013.
Second.
We have a motion for approval, second by Councilmember Reinhardt. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. Item 7 is the Wheat Ridge Housing Authority. Councilmember Demott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion to approve the ratification of the mayoral appointment to the Wheat Ridge Housing Authority. Mayor DiTullio recommends reappointment of Janice Thompson to the Wheat Ridge Housing Authority. I move to ratify the mayor's reappointment of Janice Thompson to the Housing Authority representing District 4, term to expire March of 2015.
Second.
We have a motion for approval, second by Councilmember Reinhardt. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. That concludes our agenda for tonight. We'll move on to city managers' matters.
I have nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
As my voice goes, city attorneys' matters.
Nothing tonight, thanks.
City clerks' matters.
Nothing this evening.
Councilmember Berry. Councilmember Sang.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Councilmember Demott.
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Councilmember Adams.
I'll pass right now.
Councilmember Langworthy.
Nothing, thank you.
Councilmember Jay.
Yes. I want to respond to the citizen who asked about going to Washington for a training session. I will be going to Washington, and I can proudly say that I will be paying my own way, which I feel as though that is giving to my city. I'm giving my time. The city is going to pay for my admittance into the training, and I feel as though that the time and expense that I personally donate to it is really worth the what I will gain from it and give back to the city.
Thank you. Councilmember Reinhardt.
Yes, I'd like to bring up the fact that 3 of our councilors will be unavailable on March 15th for the council study session, and there's a 5th Monday in the month of March. I looked over the likely agenda items, and in my view, none of them were pressing, so I'd like to make a motion that we cancel the March 15th study session, and we have instead a March 29th study session for City Council.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion to cancel the March 15th study session and then have a March 29th study session instead, which is the 5th Monday, second by Councilmember Adams. Discussion on the motion. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 5-3 with council members Stites, Demott, and Sang voting no.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Stites?
Yeah, I do. To start it off with Mr. Shirley's comment, no, I'm not going to Washington. I think at this particular time it's fruitless based upon the climate in Washington, the no money in Washington. I think best results, you can do it with a phone call. I think you'll get more results with that. And also, too, I think that if you want to see Ed Perlmutter, you can usually see him Sundays in the fruit and produce section at King Soopers off 32nd and Youngfields, where I see him. So, no, I won't be going to Washington. Second thing is we went to a neat thing the other day, and it was a 10-year birthday party for the rec center. And I was amazed because in the facts and figures they brought up that they've had in the last 10 years over 3 million visits to the rec center, and I think the city should be applauded. It was a tremendous deal when we got that. Third thing is, I think it's a great time to relocate to Wheat Ridge, whether you want to put a business here, buy a home here. Staff is more than willing to help you any way you want to go. Fourth thing is always, please do a positive thing for either your family, the community. And as always, please try to find it and buy it in Wheat Ridge. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank...
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a comment. I was getting some things together here.
Okay.
Okay. I'd like to make some comments to Mr. Shirley. I will be attending the National League of Cities Conference in D.C. It's something that I think is very useful and in many different ways, not only in meeting with our congressional members, but also in training, finding about new programs available to cities, what is going to happen in the federal budget in the next year. Prior to going last year, I researched the congressional support for local projects, and our congressional representative got $67 million in local projects for the city of Denver, Lakewood, Golden, Aurora, and Boulder. I can tell you that each of these communities send representatives to D.C. and have a strong lobbying program. Another $45 million was obtained for local projects, none of which were in Wheat Ridge. In the first stimulus package, Wheat Ridge received no funding for local road projects. A second, and that was because we had no congressional earmarks to be able to get on the list. It's kind of a catch-22, but you have to have some funding to be able to get on the list to get those stimulus dollars. The second round is now being considered by, it passed the House and is in the Senate right now, and we're not sure what's going to happen on that. We won't be eligible for those funds either, unless we do have some congressional support. At our last meeting, in the council comments, when we appointed Councilmember Jay to our alternative for DRCOG, Councilmember Stites said, well, Councilmember Jay, I hope you go get us some money. We can't get any of that money without being able to get that additional congressional support, and we need that from Representative Perlmutter. Over the last few weeks, we've tried to set up an appointment to meet with him, and he's been very busy. We have an appointment to meet with him in D.C. We have not been able to get an appointment with him in the last few weeks. He's just very busy and spends most of his time in D.C. We have hundreds of millions of dollars in needed but unfunded projects. One of our road projects, which has been mentioned many times, is 32nd and Youngfield. This is a $20 to $32 million project that, again, we aren't going to be eligible for out of local funds. We aren't going to be eligible out of the FASTER funds, which is $145 million of monies that are coming from the increase in license fees. In the past, I've seen elected officials use these training funds for donations to their children's sports teams, paying for membership fees for organizations they never attend, lunches for people who have contributed to their campaigns. I think a few trips to D.C. to be able to get on the books so that we will be able to get some of these monies which go to other cities is well worth it, and I will continue to fight for those funds for Wheat Ridge as hard as I can in any way I can.
Ms. Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Of the last 6 years I have been on council, I've attended 2 to 3 of those National League of Cities and gone to some training sessions as well as done some lobbying to meet with both our senators' representatives. Right now, the 32nd and Youngfield project, I've been talking with Congressman Perlmutter's office, but at this point in time he is still in D.C. They've had some mix-up on their scheduling due to the snow, I'm sure. And I'm working real hard for the 32nd Youngfield. Now, at that point, we don't know what the job spill is going to bring. We're not sure of what's going to happen with monies. But I think the fact that we can be there, along with the other cities, and lobby for what we need to have to make Wheat Ridge be a regional player is critical. I have no problem having a public arena. The fact that I'm in a public arena, I have no problem answering questions. I have problem with the protocol of this evening in the fact that we have been told that we do not respond when someone is speaking to us in that regard. at any time they speak, and we can certainly speak at a later time. I'll be happy to talk to Mr. Shirley later if he need be. I think we do need to look at our legislative budget account, and we will do so. But again, I have no apologies for trying to continue to lobby the way we need to lobby. Money or not money, a lot of even the CDBG dollars we just passed were coming from 2007. So maybe some of my very hard work that I'm trying to do, you will not reap until later. But I hope our citizens will reap from it, because that's what my goal is.
And I forgot to mention too that, Mr. Shirley attends all the regular town hall meetings, and I've spoken to Mr. Shirley about this several times, and we've agreed to disagree on it, and I respect his opinion, and I have talked to him very directly about this in the past.
Also, Mr. Mayor, may I add something? When I went to National League of Cities the last time, I didn't go last year, I think it was the year before, and Patrick, I don't want to put you on the spot. There was a prescription drug program that I was unaware of, that going to that meeting I was able to bring forward and request that staff bring it to our community. And it's, I haven't had an update recently, Patrick, but you had been sending out to council updates of the number of citizens that are able to benefit from a prescription drug program that National League of Cities is able to offer our senior citizens. Do you want to explain, is it full? I know we subscribe to it, and Heather helped work on it with me, that our seniors, with prescriptions that are not in fact covered, they are fully covered with participating drugstores in the community for our senior citizens. Is that correct?
They're not fully covered, but they do receive discounts anywhere between 10 and 30%. And we did receive an update today, which will be in City Council's manager's memorandum this week. I think Wheat Ridge has one of the highest actually participation rates in Colorado for January of this year. I think they've projected Wheat Ridge citizens have saved about $1,800 in January, $1,800.
For the month of January. So that particular, I do a lot of reading, and we can get a lot of the NLC stuff online, but had I not been at that conference and brought that forward, I would not have been able to allow our citizens that. So there's many advantages to our going to D.C. It's certainly not a trip for fun.
I wanted to thank all the folks who attended Leadership Jefferson County, the City Day at Lakewood. Joyce J. came for the day, and worked with the City of Wheat Ridge and the City of Lakewood. Next year we'll be hosting that event at the City of Wheat Ridge at the Rec Center, and that's Leadership Jefferson County. That's sponsored with the City of Wheat Ridge and Lakewood. I also wanted to congratulate the Wheat Ridge Recreation Center for 10 years to being in service. I'm proud to be part of the original council that brought that to the voters and was approved after a long discussion with the community, and there was a couple of votes that did not pass. And so I wanted to thank all the people that work at the Wheat Ridge Recreation Center, and Joyce Manwaring for her work there at the Rec Center. And the last thing I wanted to mention was, Patrick, does the Wheat Ridge Urban Renewal Authority still have the property on Ames, the house?
No, we do not. It was sold in, don't know when it was sold. It was sold in the last several months.
Good. Okay, great. With that, we're adjourned.
Wheat Ridge Channel 8, keeping you informed on events in your community.